Hello and welcome back to the Picky Swede. Today we will make the TKO3 challenge lock better, or harder should I say. It's a really good starter challenge lock for anyone who was into trying to pick a challenge lock. But the creator of this one wanted me to make it a bit tougher to pick. So, as you remembered in my last video, I picked and got this lock, and judging by the pins in this lock, I can tell that the creator didn't have any kind of plan, just random pins with different shapes and size and different springs, but he hadn't thought out a big plan on how to design the lock to be hard to pick. So in order to do that, you have to plan, and I have made a small plan here on this post-it note, and I will modify the lock accordingly. And now, spoiler alerts for you guys who maybe want to pick this lock later, you should probably not view this video, at least not this part. The first thing I'm gonna do is go through my thoughts with the pins here, and I'm gonna zoom in for you guys. I hope you can read my writing, but we have the pins here, and the bottom pins and the top pins, and we have the chambers. So in chamber number 1 we will make an undercut, partly because he has already made some kind, come on, focus here. He has already made some kind of undercut in chamber 1, so we will build accordingly. We'll undercut this correct, and we will have a standard key pin, because when you look down the lock, the first thing you should see is no secrets, so you block the view with a standard pin. Above that we will have a tough spool pin that will get caught up in a version of an undercut that I will attempt. The second chamber will be threaded, and threads and serrated pins, they are tough to pick, so we will make some sharp edges on all these pins and thread the chamber so they will get caught up and you will think that you set the pins and so forth. Chamber number 3 will also be an undercut, and I don't see any reason to not use a standard key pin, because on the key you have a very high cut here on the third one, and a high cut is tough when you have a spool, because you have to raise it so high, so you have a big risk to drop all the other pins with a high spool. So that's why the bottom pin doesn't really matter. The trick will be to just set this high cut spool on the key here. And the fourth one is a very low cut, the lowest on the key, and we will try and make a pin in that one. And the bottom pin will be serrated, and we will thread the chamber. The fifth one is very high cut. It's the highest cut on the key, and of course we will also have a spool here, a standard bottom pin, key pin, sorry, and we will also undercut the chamber. The Bible here, or the housing, how should I say, it's different in different languages. I don't think I will do any modifications to this. Maybe I will try to thread 2 and 3 on this one. Just need to remove this cover here for the springs, but that shouldn't be an issue. I think that this just slides off if I use a tool. So that's that, folks, and now let's go on to the machining. So we have mounted the plug here in our vise, and I have hopefully made it so you guys can view here. And since I live in the rest of the world who use metric, I will thread this using an M4 x 07 tap. And the reason I'm not using imperial or inch is because, well, it's only 2 countries in the world that uses that fucked up system, and that's only, they are the only ones that can use it. The rest of us doesn't understand it. And one thing that you should know when threading is that it's important to lube the tool, so we will use some standard lube here, just something in the pinholes. Chambers should be enough, and the trick is to get started with threading so you don't have anything going crooked. It has to be straight. So that's the trick. The trick here, you start slowly and just work your way down in the chamber until the tap cuts firmly. And here we go. We are now threading chamber number 2 here. And when you've done some rotations, you stop and you go backwards just to cut the burrs so they don't get too long and get caught up. And you just keep going like this until you reach the bottom of the chamber and the tool stops. Like so. And there you go. Threading chambers. No harder than that. Okay, threaded, but as you see we have quite a lot of chips here, metal shavings, and you don't want this in the lock, so I will clean everything. I will use standard brake cleaner, water, and then I will try to dry everything with some dust off or air on a can if you want, so call it that. Okay, so we have pinned it up with a new key pins, as you can see here, but we have an issue, and that is, you see, some of these pins are too long and one of them fell out. The falling out part is not the problem, it's problem is that they are too long. So we need to address that issue because these need to be at the shear line, otherwise the lock won't work with this key. You have 2 options here: either you modify the key to fit your pins, or you modify the pins to fit your key. I find it easier to modify the pins when I have a cut key already. So need to clamp this in a good vise that's solid, and we need some tools. If you don't want to do this by hand, I recommend this multi-tool, a Dremel, and you need some cutting wheel for this, and I think I'm gonna be using this stone, and I will use it to go over the surface like this to get them in the same height all over the plug. And of course use eye protection, because these are cheap, eyes are expensive, so use these guys. Okay, now for the tooling, and this is gonna be pretty loud, and yeah, I will replace the sound here forward with some music. I had one more pin dropping out on me, and he went on the floor. Okay, I will find him for you. Okay, so all the pins are in place and they are at same height at the shear line, and we only have one issue now. And come on, give me some focus. You can see that they are pretty rough, and we want our lock to operate smoothly, so this roughness needs to go away. And we will do this with our Dremel tool, but now we will use a polishing tool with some polishing wax. This is just standard polishing wax. I got it from an online jeweler store that sold this. You can find it almost anywhere, I think, on local hardware stores and stuff. So again, safety goggles, and polish away. Apply the wax to the wheel first, and then we will apply the polish here. Like so. And now our surface is much better. Come on, I don't want this unsharpness out of focus, please. Okay, I think we have, there we go. So as you can see now, we have a mirror finish on our pins, like so. And don't worry about all the mess you did, because you will clean this up before you assemble the lock. So that's how you make your pins to go with the key. Now we need to modify the pins to be security pins in the fashion that we wanted. So we will set up our Dremel tool in the vise like a turning machine. So we have our Dremel tool in the vise, and remember, don't clamp this too hard, because then you will destroy your Dremel tool and you will clamp up the machine axle and it will break as well. So take a look at our plan for the pins, and the first key pin is a standard and the second one is a serrated. So let's make a serrated out of the second pin. We will take out our second key pin, like so. And many people want to use a drill chuck for this, but key pins are the same size as the tool shafts to the Dremel, so they actually fit straight into the tool holder of a Dremel. And since this is not a, it's a better clamping, I think, than the drill chuck, because the drill chuck only has 3 teeth and this one clamps all around it, like so, and I can control the RPMs to be whatever I want, but since this is a very small diameter, I'm gonna use pretty high RPM. And to cut the serrations, I will use a broken cutting blade from the Dremel toolbox. You can use anything that you want that is sharp. Prefer these because they are pretty thin. You can also use a saw blade from a metal saw, or you can use a sharp and hard knife. I mean anything that cuts, basically. So on to this, serrations. And that's a serration. And remember, these security pins only work if they snag on something, so you want sharp edges. Remember that, no fucking smoothness here, you know, 90 degrees edges, otherwise it won't hook. So that will definitely give us some crunch. I think I can do a little better. I see on my camera that I have a very sharp edge here and a bit smoother here, but hey, we're not done yet. We can do better than this. So we'll continue on like so with another pin, and this pin I will turn it around and make some serrations on the other side of the shaft as well. So we'll just fast forward from here. I notice this takes some time because I'm using steel pins and not brass pins. But I'm pretty satisfied with that one, and yeah, that's a pretty good serrated pin, don't you think? So put him in the pinning tray, and next candidate is number 4. Hot. So that's our second serrated with, yeah, that's some sharp edges right there. That's what we need, and that's what we want. So the serrated are done, and the rest of the key pins are to be kept standard. So now we do the top pins. And we will start by making a spool. Spools are a bit tricky to make. You know what? Since we are making a brass spool and we are dealing with a spool, we can just use a needle file as our tool. That will be great. Well, the spool is gone. That was that. But hey, I have another issue as well. My battery in my multi-tool is almost dead, so I will recharge this. I will locate that spool pin and we will continue. So I found the pin and the battery is recharged. So we will continuing with this spool pin. Something like that, and we got a nice, pretty sharp edge there. Let's see if we can clamp it the other way around and complete it, because it's a bit asymmetric. Yes, that's a nice spool. Pretty satisfied with that. There you go. So, just a matter of making 2 more. Okay, 3 spools. I think we need 1 more serrated. Yes, we do, and we also need a pin in pin. Pin in pin is always fun to make, so why don't we make one, because we already seen how to make serrated pins. You start by clamping up your pin like so, and you need a really tiny drill like this one. I think this is 2.5 millimeters, this drill, and you need a small nail. This one is 2.4 millimeters, so it fits perfectly when you drill the hole. And I cut the pin to length like so, so it will fit. I'm gonna make 1 more improvement on this pin and pin that design that I have, and I'm gonna try to smash this bit with the hammer so it gets flat, because this pointy tip, it kind of mess up the springs in the lock. Just remember to try to hit the center on the pin. It should be pretty self-centering, but keep it as steady as you can. understands is how you make a hollow pin for the pin design. And this brass is a pain in the ass to clean up later, but that's not your problem, that's my problem. Okay, so we'll use the pliers here so you can see. Perfectly hollow. And if I take one of my nails, it will fit like this. So that's a homemade pin in pin. And you can always have it oriented this way, so you have the pointed tip towards the key. I haven't tried that yet. Maybe that's what I'm gonna do, because then I will save the spring and we will have a true pin and pin concept with a small pin at the bottom instead of just have to pick one pin. I think I'll go with that. That concept seems fairly straightforward. Yeah, so pin in pin. There we go. So I'll just clean this mess up a bit, and then I will reset camera and the lock in the vise for you guys. And if you don't know what I mean with mess, this is the mess I mean. You don't want to get that in your underwear. So, undercutting the chambers. You know, we needed undercuts on 1, 3 and 5. And I can see here that we have a small undercut on chamber number 1 already. You can hear it, it's really small but not as distinct as the threads here, and this is untouched. So we will make pretty big undercuts because I want the spools to get caught up in the undercuts. That's what I'm after. So I will be using a Dremel tool and a very fine tool here. It's an engraving tool with a really sharp and fine tip, so I can really reach in like so and do the engraving here to make an undercut. And remember, kids, always make undercuts from both ways, otherwise you can pick it the other way around and you have disabled some of the features. So remember, again, use eye protection and off we go. And now we are starting to get a pretty good undercut here. But this material is pretty hard, so maybe I need to change tactic here. I think I'm gonna finish off with this tool to get that depth I want, but in order to remove material I need something with a bit more punch. And I think we have a small ball mill here. Yeah, so this is a really small mill, and it fits here. It really digs up the material, but this guy can jump around a bit, so you really have to get a good grip on your tool so you don't slip up. Well, that's more like it. So much vibrations, the camera moved. Okay, now we have really undercut this chamber. Okay, we'll do the same on this side, and we'll finish off to try to make a really sharp edge with this fine tip tool here. Kind of messed up the top here, but that's okay. I will get that with the polishing wheel, try to smooth that out, because that's not pretty. Don't know if you can see it. I think the light is pretty reflective here for you, so yeah, like so. Now you can see. Okay, final chamber. I will start the tool inside the chamber to avoid that from happening again. Yeah, that's some undercuts right there. Okay, switching to the fine tip again and see if we can sharpen up the edge a bit. Bill wondered how I didn't slip up while doing this, and as you've seen here, Bill, I do slip up. I'm just at covering up my tracks, sir. That's how I do it. Okay, I think we have some good undercuts now, and the purpose, of course, is for the spool here to get caught up. I don't have my pliers around here, but the thing is, the spool get caught up on the lip here, so it won't lift, but you will get a false set, but you cannot lift it all the way because you need to rotate it way back to do that. So now we will just cover up our tracks and make this smooth so it won't snag in the lock, and clean it up. And then we will be good to go for the assembly part, I think. Yeah, we are. Okay, so basically all our components are done and they are cleaned up. So what I'm going to do first is just to make sure the key runs smooth without anything, and it does. I will also put it in here to make sure there's no drag on those components, and then we will start the pinning process. So go and put all the pins in. And now they all follow the shear line. That's good. And can you take your key in and out? Yes, it's a bit rough. Okay, can be an issue. Does it work with in the Bible? No. Okay, so that's an issue we have to address. That's not so good. Okay, the key is out. You see, this is why I test things before I do the final assembly, and I believe that some of these pins... Okay, I think I know what's going on here, and some of these pins, they wiggle around a bit like this, and that makes them to go just above the shear line when they wiggle around. So I need to make these an even more perfect fit here, because otherwise the lock won't operate. And yeah, I think I'm gonna just use a sander tool on the Dremel and go over this surface a couple of times and make them smooth, and then we'll finish off with some polishing once again, and we'll come back to the assembly part. Okay, I do think that we have a smoother lock now. I put in a pin one by one, and I went past it with a really fine cutting stone, and then I finish it off with some polishing to make it smooth. And yeah, let's pin it up here and see. We did a good job. All right. Key goes in, operates pretty smooth. It could use some lubrication, but that's for final assembly. Okay, testing. Yeah, no drag. That's what we want. Okay, nice. So should be able to put in pins one by one here to see if they work as intended. The good thing about putting them in from the top is you can check it to see which pin is being a total bitch and don't work. Yep. Okay, so this is the pin in pin. This can be interesting. Oh, it's this chamber. So we're in, and I'm gonna put in a master wafer on top here to protect the spring. At least that's my plan. We will see how it works for me. You can see right now that it's a bad idea. Doesn't look good in there. Okay, see if we can drop him out. Nope. These threads really make it tough. Okay, so he's out. I have all the pins still here. Okay, like so. I'm gonna take a decision here on which way to mount him. I'm gonna try this way. That can be fun. Okay, so it's a bit of a snag when I had him that way around, so okay. We are simply going to mount him the way we intended from the beginning. And that is with the pointy end up. I'll try to figure that out on my next lock with pin and pin. So without any springs, works like a charm, no snag, and we take out the key. A bit floppy, but it's okay. Yeah, key goes inside and retracts as it should. Okay, now the spring parts. I wonder if I can just put them in on top and just reapply this cover here. Hopefully I can. And we have a mix of springs here. I think we're going to go with a short one on top of the you devil, on top of the pin and pin, and we will drop in the other guys like so, so they are different. Okay, now just popping this cover on here. Yeah, American lock, easy to assemble. That's nice. Oh, we have this guy here as well. You know, to keep it from flying out when you remove the key. I've done that mistake once. I'm going to use my sweet Nippex. This is really nice. Did you break it? Did I? Hopefully not. Or is that even for this lock? I don't know. I hope it is. So key goes in, works. I think I'm just gonna adjust this guy here, but you know, it works. Key goes in, key goes out. It operates as it should, but you could always use some ASA lube. There you go. And that's a challenge lock for you, my friends. Perfectly okay, not the highest standard, but I think if I work this key in and out, I will get the lube everywhere and it will operate a bit better. But there you go, that's how you make a challenge lock. So remember, press like and subscribe. This is the Picky Swede.